call to order at 6 o'clock. Present at the meeting are President Chris Vachon, Council Member Curtis, Council Member Guthrie Chase, City Clerk and Treasurer James Johnson, pardon me, City Manager Jonathan Delabria. I also have our Rec Director, Mike Brown, our Department of Public Works Director, Mr. Bernier. I also have our Zoning Administrator, Frank Cheney, and our Treasurer's Office, statutory employees. Thank you. Am I missed anybody?
Is that number online?
That's
Who is?
This Kevin Charbonneau, I'm present as well.
Thank you. Okay, and also online is Councilmember Charbonneau. Thank you for that.
the speaker is making a lot of noise, which is going to interfere with pickup. Is there a way of stopping that?
The lower speaker.
It's hissing away.
Okay, next item on the agenda, additions and deletions. President Vachon.
Yeah, I have a couple. Last week, well, let's back up a minute. NEK-TV Science and Education Center reached out because I was working with them in my classroom as well. Asked for a letter of support for a grant that they applied for today, was due today. So just to ratify that letter. We also got a message about the idea of Newport having a declaration of inclusion. So I'd like to have a vote on that. And then a discussion or update about the personnel policy and where that's at currently.
Okay, so let's start
One
there.
at a time.
Okay. First, is there a motion for ratification of the letter for the Memphremagog Science and Education Center?
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, and that will go on the first item right before the consent agenda. Is everybody comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Second, is the statement on inclusion. Can I have a motion? Or is there a motion to put on the agenda the statement of inclusion?
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, and the motion is carried. I'm going to put that, I don't want to kill this consent agenda. So I'm going to put that right after the ratification. Is everybody good with that? Before the consent agenda? It's in here. Do you happen to have a printer?
I did pull it up.
Just so I can grab it for discussion. Okay, just so when we're ready to do it.
Yep.
And then the next request was a discussion of the personnel policy. Is there a motion on that?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, and the motion is carried. I'm going to put that one right after the consent agenda. Okay, is everybody good with that? Okay. Councilmember Charbonneau, do you have any additions or deletions?
I do not.
Councilmember Curtis?
No.
Councilmember Alfred Chase?
Yes, I have one item.
Okay.
I'd like an opportunity to have a conversation about Councilmember Charbonneau's pressing for an investigation of Councilmember Curtis at the meeting 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Can I have a motion to add to the agenda discussion on the investigation brought up by Councilmember Charbonneau?
Did he make a motion?
That's what I'm asking, to make a motion.
I'll move it.
Okay. There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Is everybody okay if I place that after the personnel discussion? All good with that? Councilman Charbonneau, you good with that?
I'm fine, yeah.
Okay. Remind me, please. Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay. Okay, we should be, treasurer have anything?
No.
Okay, I have a deletion. The, recording policy, which number is
Number 4.
the audiovisual recording policy number 4. Our attorneys are not ready. They are working on the requests that we have, and so they are not ready yet to appear today and assist with that. So may I have a motion to delete that agenda item and move it to not July 1st, but the 15th? I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay.
When you move into
The 15th. Ayes have it, and the motion is carried, and that will be deleted. Okay. So next item on the agenda is the ratification of the letter of support for the Men for Magog Science and Education Center.
I guess it
Did I do that wrong?
was. No.
Oh,
I
okay.
was asking if it was in the.
Okay, so the president of the council wrote this amazing letter, and there was a timing issue, so it was important that we got it out. And I wanted to be sure that it got out. I would like to actually take a few seconds and have him read it because it was so great.
All right, thank you. So once again, they reached out because they've been working with several local schools trying to get our school's elementary level into the vote for some live learning. To whom it may concern, I am writing to express my strong support for the grant application submitted by the Men for Magog Science and Education Center. As a council member and educator, I have had the pleasure of collaborating with MEMSEC and witnessing firsthand the profound impact they have had on our community through their dedication in environmental education, research, and conservation. The Men for Magog Science and Education Center has established itself as a pivotal institution in promoting scientific literacy and environmental stewardship. These programs, which range from hands-on field studies to community workshops and school outreach initiatives, have consistently demonstrated a commitment to fostering a deeper understanding and appreciation for our natural world. Their work is particularly crucial to the Lake Newport region, an area rich with biodiversity and ecological significance. One of the key strengths of NEMSEC is a holistic approach to science education. They engage students of all ages in meaningful, experiential learning opportunities that go beyond traditional classroom settings. By involving students in real-world research projects, NEMSEC not only enhances their academic knowledge, but also instills a sense of responsibility and enthusiasm for environmental conservation. Their efforts to bridge the gap between academic research and public education are commendable and have resulted in more informed and active community. In conclusion, I wholeheartedly support the Newport Science and Education Center's grant application. Their unwavering dedication to science education and environmental conservation has already made a significant difference, and with additional funding, they will be able to further the mission and achieve even greater outcomes. I'm confident that the work of NEMSEC will continue to inspire and educate future generations, fostering a more sustainable and environmentally conscious society. Thank you for considering your application. Contact me if you have questions.
Thank you. May I have a motion to ratify that letter?
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, comments? Further discussion?
Yeah, I just want to mention, so folks know, that there are at least 2 other applications from the community here in Newport, one of which is the city of Newport. I understand it was going in. Did it happen today? Mm-hmm. Great. So there's a city of Newport application for that same fund to do expansion of the dock system, which Jonathan can speak to. And Newport Downtown Development has done an application that went in this morning as well for an item that'll come up later on the agenda. I did make a phone call to the state and was assured that there's no conflict, there's no problem with having more than one application from the community, and no guarantees, of course, how many will get funded, but I don't see any conflict at all, and I totally support this letter.
Awesome. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, next
Madam
item.
Mayor, may I have a copy of that letter from Mr. Vachon?
Would you like to share that with
Saw that.
Totally, right?
Thank you, what's that?
We're just having fun with you. Next item on the agenda is the request for the city's inclusion statement. I'm going to ask, may I have a motion to include the declaration of inclusion as written and as presented?
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
The motion and a second. Any comments?
Madam Mayor,
Wait, I'm gonna bring it back to us, okay? Just, Kevin, I know you, council member, I know you can't, I don't know if you could see us. But let me throw it out to the residents right now, and then I'll bring it back to us and we can have our discussion and hear what you have to say and if there are changes or whatever. Is that all right?
yes.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Green? Yes, please come up and identify yourself.
Laurie Brennan, Newport, Vermont. I had an opportunity to read this back during the election, February, March. And I do agree with accepting people. My biggest concern about this statement is the word "feel safe." And we leave open the door for subjective, whatever your feeling is, whether you feel safe or not. And that's what concerns me about a statement like this, because I want to welcome everyone but somebody might take my personal beliefs as them not feeling safe with me. And then it becomes a question of whose feelings are we talking about? Feelings are ambiguous in some situations. So that's my only concern with a statement like this, is that it will boil down to how does someone feel?
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to bring it all back and we'll discuss it. Right now, I'm not going to be commenting. I just want to hear from everybody who has a comment. And
No, I can't see it, so I just
that
wanted
could
to,
be an issue. So,
just the gist of it.
sure. So it says declaration of inclusion, and it says town will change that to city if it goes forward. The city of Newport condemns racism and welcomes all persons, regardless of race, color, religion, national origin, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity and expression, age, disability, of socioeconomic status, and wants everyone to feel safe and welcome in our community. As a city, we formally condemn all discrimination in all of its forms, commit to fair and equal treatment of everyone in our community, and will strive to ensure all of our actions, policies, and operating procedures and will strive to ensure all of our actions, policies, and operating procedures reflect this commitment. City of Newport has and will continue to be a place where individuals can live freely and express their opinions. And then we would sign it if it is so approved. I went to the eye. But these are not my new glasses. But anyway, so does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
I guess I'm surprised we haven't had a policy like this before. Like, it's interesting. I'm glad you guys are doing this now. My question is, do you know, because it seems like it's kind of from a state website. Do you know how many other towns have done this? Is there like a...
I don't know the number of towns. Some have, some have not.
Okay.
I don't know the exact number, but I'm sure it's easy to find out.
77%,
There we go.
77?
77%.
Okay. Cool. Thank you very much.
And I might be wrong, but I think this has been going request for a couple of years, and it's just hit out. I don't know if it's hit our council before, but this is the first time it has come while I'm.
I think it's great. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, so,
Cool. Thanks.
okay. Councilmember Charbonneau, now bringing it back to discussion for the council. So could you please go first?
Certainly. I don't have a copy I have to read, so I really don't know, if there's anything else to that policy or what. I really don't have any information on that.
So the policy itself, that is what they are asking us to agree to. There would be nothing more to it. If you have suggestions that you might like to make to change it, now would be the time to say it, and then of course you can vote for or against it. Is there any way to email that to the council member?
Not without everyone here seeing my email right this second.
Nope, do not do that, please. But if you could put it back up, I can, would you like me to read it again?
No, I heard you the
Okay.
first time. I'd like to physically go through it.
Understood. The reason we put this on as an addition is because there is timeliness coming up and we don't have another council meeting, and it was also to avoid doing a special council meeting like tomorrow or Wednesday to bring it up, because there was a request that it be done before June 23rd.
Okay, understood.
But think about it and we'll come back. We'll go through the other council members.
Mayor,
Please.
Kevin, do you have access to your computer or phone so I can email it to you?
Yes,
Okay, I'll do that right now.
Excellent.
thank you.
feel more comfortable moving the vote? So he has a couple minutes to.
Yeah, no, we're not gonna do the vote right now, but I want him to hear the discussion and then we can, move it, we'll move it to after and bring it back. But he may be fine by the time we're done with the discussion. Yes.
Chris, shoot, you email it to me if I have it for records.
I do want, there was a comment, Councilman Charbonneau, about people's feeling safe and the subjectiveness. I think my read on this is it's not for the individual to feel safe. It's for the city to say this is a safe place. So I would not have issue with anything you believe, or it's not individual to individual. It's the city saying, we want everybody from all walks of life to come here and feel comfortable, that we are not shutting the door to anybody. So, do you want to give any comments that you might have on that?
The only thing was the city/town council versus. That was it.
Okay. Council member?
You nodded your head that this was here before.
Yeah, it was, I think, caught in the chaos of going from remote to hybrid to in-person meetings, so I think it lost my shuffle with that. It was presented pretty early on, maybe 3 years ago, 2021.
And if I'm correct, I know when it was in different towns, I think there was much longer version of it
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
So I think that this is now narrowed down.
And what about the word safe?
It's what, what's your question on the word safe?
Another word?
Oh, so you didn't like what I said? No, I mean, what would you, where is it? Can you, somebody show me where it is at the end?
The first
Bottom of the
paragraph.
first
Condemn,
paragraph.
Feel safe and welcome.
Right, so I think that, I mean, we don't want to hear what you think. I think that our goal has always been that Newport wants safety as a priority for everybody. Yeah, I think the key was that it wasn't one-to-one individuals inside, it's the city that's saying, we are opening our doors to everybody. Council member?
I strongly support this. I think its timing is ideal, 2 days before Juneteenth and 6 days before our second annual Pride event on Sunday. And, you know, it seems to me that the language wants everyone to feel safe and welcome in our community is aspirational. We can't make anyone feel safe. We can only do our best to create conditions in which people can feel safe. So I support this language that we have before us.
I noticed the town of Derby has it on their website.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something we would do? Or could do?
Yes, if we
It's
could
like when you
definitely.
go to the website, there it is in red letters.
Okay, so go on the website.
Instead of being tucked away.
Yeah, so I know in Cambridge, we took it one step further, and out of this, we created an equity committee that then further looked into this. But I think initially, it's just been presented kind of as a short paragraph to start with.
The only word, and I'm not opposed to it, I mean, not strongly, is the word condemn. I have just an issue with that word, that sometimes it really means like more legal punishment, and I think that maybe, you know, disapproves of or something like that. I would be more comfortable with it, but I'm not pushing it. I'm just letting everybody know that. Councilmember Charbonneau, have you had an opportunity to read through this?
Yeah, I don't have any issues with it.
What? Could you repeat that, Councilmember? You cut out.
I said I read it. I don't have any issues with it. Seems pretty straightforward.
Okay. So, on that note, can I have a motion to adopt the Declaration of Inclusion, changing the word town to city?
And select board to city council.
And exactly that, select board to city council.
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second, any comment? Well, thank you for bringing this to us. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Thank you. So we'll be able to do that on the 23rd. We'll be able to make that statement for you, okay? And then we'll sign off on this, and will you make those changes?
And then I'll get a document.
And then get it all for, and
Yeah.
I'll sign off on it. Okay.
Madam Mayor, thank you. If you have a policy and somebody feels they're unsafe after this policy passes, what do they do about it? And, you know, if you have a policy, but if someone feels that it's going against the policy, then what are the next steps? And I would like a copy of that document.
So if somebody feels unsafe, they should always go to the police immediately. And then the police will sort out. You don't feel unsafe and then say, I want to use the policy. If you feel unsafe, seriously feel unsafe, you should go to the police. And then if there's an email that comes to us or addresses this specifically, we will look to the sender, what the content is, and direct them appropriately or deal with it appropriately.
So what's different now than Vermont statute? What does the policy do? That's not a Vermont statute now.
What this is doing right now, it is saying that the city of Newport, by its council, wants it to be a verbal statement that validates what we believe.
And may I have a copy of
I thought that
that?
was pretty good.
What's that? I'm
I thought that
sorry.
was pretty good. Yes, we will get you a copy once it's changed with the word city.
Yeah, but I'd like to have a copy. I mean, I understand this public record. I need a copy of it now.
You want the town one?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, but we don't
We don't
have
I
a
don't have a
printout.
physical
We only
copy, it's
have,
just from their
we can
website.
email it to you.
If you would please, and. yeah,
Okay,
you
well,
would.
we'll email it to you. Okay. I've sent my husband. Okay, now we will go to the next item, which is the consent agenda. Does anybody have any changes to the consent agenda?
Yes.
Okay, Councilmember Curtis.
Minutes of June 3rd. New business, last paragraph, I'd like to change the word read to made, third word. What?
To me, Mr. Curtis
it.
made a statement.
Yes.
Any other changes? Okay, so the consent agenda includes the regular meeting minutes of June 3rd, payroll warrant of June 13, 2024, accounts payable warrants of June 3rd, 2024, June 10, 2024, and June 14, 2024. I want to reiterate that when we approve these consent agendas that include warrants, that it doesn't mean that we are endorsing any policies at this point in time. It's just approving the payment of these warrants for now, and as we continue to work on policies, they will be updated. It includes liquor licenses, vendor permits, and special events permits. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda with the change to the minutes?
So moved.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Should I just write on it, just make the change on that to sign it?
Yeah, just sign the last page, I'll answer it.
Okay, the next item was removed, and we're going to be now at,
Personnel policy.
yeah, I was gonna say, it's okay, it's okay. Okay, so, we removed, the recording policy, and instead I'm going to incorporate now a discussion on the personnel policy. May I have a motion to, discuss the personnel policy?
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any comments?
Jennifer Gearling, resident Newport, Vermont. At the last meeting of the June 3rd meeting, you are on the record saying that you were going to place it on the agenda and you were going to have Marilyn Mahusky present to talk with the council. And I'm just wondering why you didn't do that. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, discussion on this side, so, you want to do your comment now? Of course.
First and second.
Stacey Tarian, City Assistant Clerk Treasurer, Newport resident.
Robin Churchill, Assistant Clerk.
I wrote this down so my thoughts could be clear.
Take your time.
You as the council, as our leaders and employers, we believe that you meant to implement a personnel management plan with thoughtfulness and understanding to cultivate a productive environment for those of us who have to adhere to your established policies. We are here tonight asking you to support and promote a collaborative work atmosphere. As the old policy stated in its introduction, the City of Newport seeks to meet the needs of city residents as expressed and determined through the city annual meeting and through the actions of the city council and throughout the year. City employees are part of the team which works to meet those public needs. The old policy goes on to say, the city seeks to develop and foster a work environment in which employees recognize their vital role in the functioning of the city. It's with sadness that the old introduction has been removed and replaced with our new policy stating employment with the City of Newport is at will and not for any definite period of succession or periods of time. End quote. We would like this council to contribute to fostering a cohesive work environment by providing an addendum to the personnel policy that returns the appeal and grievance policies and reinstates the benefit of overtime after 8 hours that has always been provided to the non-union hourly employees, just like it has always been provided to the union personnel. Precedents have been established for overtime. It was an unwritten policy from all previous councils and all previous city managers that when the unions were established, that the non-union employees followed the public works union contracts regarding benefits and overtime. And so we just ask you to consider changing our personnel policy and adding these addendums.
Thank you. So now I'm bringing you back to discussion. Just our attorney is doing some research for us regarding some of these questions. And the attorney was not ready and also had a conflict for tonight, but would not have had that information ready for us. This is some in-depth research that's been going on. And so the advice as well, once we do have the attorney here, is to take it into executive session for personnel issues, but also hopefully we would have all of those answers, because the city manager and I have sent over a list of what we needed so that we could share that information with the council, and it would be pretty much unfair to move without us being knowledgeable, or we're going to be just at the same place. And this is serious, it's like, you know, a priority, but we really do have to have answers. And so that's the reason it was not on this agenda, because we wouldn't have had anything really to go forward with. But as soon as the attorney is ready, I would put it on the agenda if everybody is open for that. But I do not recommend putting it on the agenda every single week and then just moving it. So at this point in time, I think we want to wait for our city attorneys to say they're ready.
Is there an estimated time when they think they'll be ready?
So I would, and this is, you know, I'm thinking they'll be ready probably by the July 1st, but we have a tight meeting on the July 1st. So the following meeting would be the ideal for us to be addressing all of these different concerns.
No, my point in bringing it up to the table was to open up discussion again, make sure people are knowing it's not being forgotten. And that there does seem to be some concern from non-union staff, and I think as a council we need to take that nervousness seriously.
And I agree, but we also need to see what the legalities are, where everybody falls in, who's qualified, who is who, pretty much, who's exempt, who's not exempt, who the statutory employees are, how they're affected. So there are a lot of questions, and I know the city manager is working with me and you know, for the attorney to put everything together so they can give us appropriate legal advice.
I'll just, I appreciate the concern that President Vachon has brought up, and I would be, if it looks as if the agenda would be equally full on the 15th, I guess, of July, I at least would be open to a special council meeting to address this matter so that it doesn't get put off until August. So I'll leave that up to the judgment, of course, of you, Mayor, and to the city manager.
Actually, as long as the attorney is ready with the information, I have no issue at all with a special meeting, provided we're not doing piecemeal information anymore, provided we have everything. Councilmember Charbonneau, are you good with that? It's really just, we're just discussing it at this point.
I just question, the attorneys have had this for how many months? This seems to be dragging on for.
So I think what you're saying is that it's dragging on. I do want to bring back the fact that we did have back in February a vote. We heard comments from the certain people, and then we did have a vote. So it wasn't that it was forgotten, but then it was brought up, and we had certain discussions, and now we actually came up with questions, legitimate questions that we need to have our attorney respond to. And we do other work, but that doesn't minimize this as a priority. So, but wait, we've already done that, and we're here, so I will get back to you. Okay. So, Councilmember Charbonneau, so the key, I guess, what we want to bring here is, do we want to have, do a vote that's, and tell me if I'm wrong, do a vote that says we will have a special meeting if the attorneys can't get this done by the June 15th, July 15th meeting. Council member?
Yeah, what is the, guess we'll have to wait to see what they propose. We have a policy here that seems to work this third, but now we'll wait for them to tell us what to do.
I think it's pretty clear that we want legal advice on certain issues.
It is the same policy other town they represent has.
Every town is different regardless of whether attorneys they use. I don't know the facts of every town. I don't know who their employees are, how many they have. So we are city and our attorneys are working with us to put together a policy that they believe they are advising us appropriately on for our city and how our city is defined. It doesn't mean that we will agree or disagree. We won't know that until we speak to them. But just because an attorney represents another client doesn't mean that a blanket policy is going to work for all towns and cities.
I'm good out. We'll wait for the attorney.
He's good.
He's good? Okay, so then, if somebody would like to make a motion to have a special meeting on the personnel policy if in fact it is not ready by July 15th.
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, Mr. Bernier.
Yeah, I should have stood up the first time. I thought maybe what Stacy said might cover everything. This has been going on since the end of February. This is affecting me, my crew. Essentially taking the overtime after 8, right now the busiest time of our year, is been critical for me. It affects both my two foremen. I can't understand why we can't just move forward implementing that back in, along with our safeguards. We've taken out all our safeguards for all the employees who, most all of us, signed that paper, requesting what was taken out just be placed back in. There was talk about another policy that would bring in a grievance policy. I didn't have a problem with that, except for the fact that it should have been brought out at the same time that this one was approved, so that everything that was within that first policy was covered, and it hasn't been. So my concern is twofold, like everybody else. One, the overtime is really affecting me, and two, we have no grievance policy. And I can't understand why you can't vote it back in as an addendum now, correct it down the road. We're looking at another month. That's all I got.
Thank you for your comment. And to that, I get that you don't understand this or you don't understand that and you want something specific, and we are sensitive to that. However, there are decisions that need to be made and law that needs to be looked at, whether we all like it or not. And as I explained, we are going to do a thorough vetting of this, and we are waiting for the attorneys. So, on that note, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, and the motion is carried.
And Mayor, is there a copy of that policy online someplace, or we're gonna get a copy of it?
Which policy? The one that was approved?
The same one that's approved, you revisited, is that?
We're going to revisit the February policy that was voted on. You already have
I'll
that.
send it to you again, Chris.
Was there a policy in place before then? Was
Yeah,
that,
a couple of years ago.
that was a new policy?
Okay, next item on the agenda. Bluff Road Pump Station advertisement for bids with an anticipated vote. City manager, do you
Sure.
want to run with that first?
I can.
Okay.
So, Tom, myself, and the engineer A&E met this week to discuss the Bluff Road Pump Station project. This was part of the grant that I think Mayor Sullivan had sent to us on WCAX, the combined sewer overflow. The city received roughly, I think it was $782,000 or $84,000. This is one of those projects that's slated for that grant. What you saw, it wasn't in your paper packets, but it was online. We're 90% complete bid documents. And basically what Tom and I would like the council to approve today is when we're at 100% to begin that advertisement. It is a federal project, so it would need to be advertised for at least 30 days following our procurement. But we would like to see this project happen this year. This is at the intersection of Bluff Road and Crowdy Drive, kind of by the Vermont Land Trust parking lot area there. It's basically one holding tank pump station that we're adding in a secondary holding tank to reduce that chance of a combined sewer overflow. We have 6 sites in the city that are still combined sewer, this being one of them, and so we're just working to mitigate any potential release from a combined overflow system. Don't know if Tom wants to speak to it at all, but that's kind of the gist. There is no match on this grant. It's 100% ARPA funded through the state. Again, it is slated to be done this year.
Mr. Bernier, did you want to speak to that, or are you good?
No, you summed it up well.
So can I have a motion to approve the Bluff Road Pump Station advertisement for bids?
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Comment?
Yes, it was on. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Ann Sherrillo, I'm a resident of the city and I live in that area. And it was unclear from the diagrams, though I did try to look through them, how much bigger this structure is going to look, how much closer it's going to get to the road, just an idea. And exactly what normally goes through there, just sewage, and when you say there's an overflow, does this sewage go into the lake? You can answer that? Okay, thank you.
So if you look at a Google Maps, there's the existing well, it's kind of a concrete structure there currently. There's going to be an identical one of those placed kind of between that existing one and where the current parking lot is for the bike path. So no, the footprint won't change at all. Currently there is an overflow, so if that pump well gets full, it does overflow into the outside, which does go into AGOT. The second tank is still going to have an overflow, but we're doubling the capacity in hopes that if we use our first tank, it will flow into that second tank before it hits the overflow. But I don't know if that answers your question. It does stay light to the outside, and then it's not going to change that existing footprint of the parking area.
Thank you.
So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion by the council? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, and the motion is carried.
Madam Mayor, is there somewhere where I can see an outline what the project looks like? Is that on, did you say that was on the website or?
Yeah, that one's 217 pages. So it is on the city's website, on the attachments for the document, the bid documents as well as the engineering plans.
So it's on the city council, is that what it should look like?
Under city documents, under city council. Yeah, that one I'm not printing off for you.
No worries.
Okay, so going back to the additions, the next item on the agenda is Council Member Charbonneau's pressing for an investigation of Council Member Clark. I'm gonna open that up for discussion. Council Member Upper Chase.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, I'll just speak Councilmember Charbonneau, to you directly, I was pretty shocked by the discussion that took place at the end of the meeting, at our last meeting, and shocked to hear you take responsibility, or at least to admit to the fact that there had been, that you had pressed for an investigation, a criminal investigation of Councilmember Curtis. I haven't heard anything since then. I haven't had any conversation with any of the council members, and I'd like some explanation about what was taking place there. And I'll just state for the record that I would have been far more, I would like to have had an opportunity for the council to discuss this together well in advance of any kind of an individual pressing for a criminal investigation.
Anybody on the council want to continue the discussion?
It kind of sounds like you want to adopt the cabinet.
But I don't know. Councilmember Charbonneau, do you wish to speak?
As with anything, a citizen, regardless of what station they hold, if they observe something might be a violation of the law, it's their obligation to report it to the proper authority. Possible law violations are not something that are debated in committees or voted on. That's what we have police officers for, state's attorneys.
So, Councilmember, you were going in and out, but I think I got the gist of what you're saying, and I think what Councilmember Ruffin Chase is saying is that yes, an individual has the right, but you do this on behalf of the city, and I think that's where the issue arose. Am I wrong on that? Okay, I just want to make sure everybody's hearing, because it's difficult to hear you.
No, that is completely false. And that is a narrative that's being propagated all over, and that is not how it was. And the reason that I utilize city email is for transparency. Unfortunately, I'm not going to discuss everything because that's not my place. But people not knowing the facts arrive at conclusions which are false. One of them being that I take this on behalf of the city, and that is factually false.
Well, if I could speak to that.
Go ahead.
I'll just say, Kevin, that if transparency is the goal, I feel like we're a long way from transparency. I don't have the foggiest idea what this is about. If it's only about the reality that Councilmember Curtis served for about a month as constable while serving as a member of the council, that's obvious. We all talked about it. And when the situation was, when it was identified that that was problematic according to the city charter, Councilmember Curtis took responsibility and resigned from that position, with the approval, I might add, of all of us. So unless there's a lot more going on here than I can see, I fail to understand what we're really talking about. And if there is more going on here, then I have a lot more questions about how this charge was, or this. I'm trying not to call it a charge, because I understand the distinction you're making, that you are asking for an investigation. But I feel pretty in the dark and frustrated because I feel like we've had a pretty good head of steam as a council. We've been doing good work together, at least since I came on council 3 months ago. And I feel like this has the potential to kind of derail us in some pretty critical ways right now. So I've been frustrated at not having anywhere or any place to have this conversation, any time to have this conversation. And I don't know how else to do it than to bring it up now.
always possibility of contacting me directly.
So I believe, Councilmember, you said there's always the possibility to speak to you directly? Is that what you said?
I certainly would explain my concerns, but I don't think it's appropriate for me to broadcast everything in a public forum.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other conversation?
I think we're covered my questions.
Councilmember? Okay. Next item on the agenda is the Gardner Park. We're going to, there's no vote on this. We just had a discussion, so. Gardner Park soil remediation loan, anticipated vote. City manager, would you like to speak to this a little bit?
So, City Treasurer Johnson brought a proposal from Sumsick Savings Bank. I believe it was the last council meeting. The council wanted us just to get some additional lenders and see what their terms were. We reached out to Community National Bank as well as NVDA, because there was some potential of a 0% interest forgivable loan through NVDA. We chased down that rabbit hole, and kind of like we determined with the Brownfields program, because Newport's the responsible party, we cannot get that. So it kind of defaults back to a commercial loan through one of these two lenders. I believe both of them listed out a 5 and a 10-year term. Originally, I believe the voters approved for $315,000. Tom's new estimate was right around $200,000, so we're gonna need less than what was originally asked of the voters, but we still will need to borrow some money for that soil remediation project.
So what's your recommendation, if you don't mind, on the amount and which lender you believe you would recommend?
So I would go with your lower interest rates. My thought is, due to the smaller amount of the project, I wouldn't push this off for 10 years. I would try to do it in 5 to get it done. We have a lot of other big projects coming down the pipeline. So just, $200,000 note could very easily be split up in 5 years.
And the treasurer is comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Mr. Bernier, are you comfortable with that? Council, any discussion on this? Any motions you'd like to make?
Are you asking for a motion? I move that we go with the 5-year loan from the Sumsick Bank with a fixed rate of 5.09% and monthly principal and interest payments of $3,782.50.
Have a motion, do I have a second? Have a motion and a second. Any comments? Further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it and the motion is carried.
Madam Mayor, what was Community Bank going to charge for interest? And what was the, who was the other one, NVDA?
Yeah, that one fell apart. That one wouldn't work.
Okay.
But the, this is the some community is going to charge 6.06%.
Can I have a copy of that paperwork?
That's mine.
Can I give you Councilmember Clark's paperwork? Yeah.
And it's
We have
just,
to have a little fun.
is there a way where I can kind of review the project? Is that on line with the documents for tonight's meeting?
For what?
He
Yeah,
wants to
just-
review the project.
Okay, I can follow up with you.
Okay, if you would, because Mr. Delivery said to do it in 5 instead of 10 or whatever, and
Right. And the amount of money, and it makes more sense interest-wise than to pay it off.
to pay, gotcha, he wasn't talking about the project, but we
Right.
paid the
No,
loan, gotcha.
Gardner Park will be done this summer.
Yeah, that's what I
Yes,
thought.
this is just.
Yeah, this is just the funding.
Mr. Deladria was talking about paying the loan off at 5 instead of 10.
Correct. Okay, next item on the agenda, Laramie Water Resources Agreement. And this is just a discussion, a quick update. If you all recall, the council had approved for Mr. Bernier and the city manager to begin to put together a plan and for Laramie, and so we can move forward. And the initial legal document that I got had the wrong parties, and we did some changes and put some more detail in after I had a good discussion with Mr. Bernier. And it was important also to make sure that the parties were correct, of course, for insurance purposes, etc. This is just a first draft. And we also said that the council would be getting the drafts as they came forward. I believe, however, that we're close with this first draft, so if you would please just look at it, and then we can get any questions sent over to our attorneys, and please copy me and the city manager, and we'll go back and forth, and then we can get the updated version and hopefully vote this through. Councilmember Charbonneau, were you able to hear what I said? Because I know sometimes I can't hear you, but I want to be sure you're at least hearing us.
No, I heard you, but thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. I just get, I get a little bit leery sometimes when you're online, and if I can't hear you, I'm concerned that you might miss something. So, I anticipate that we will probably see this Laramie Water Resources Agreement soon, and this one we may need a special meeting to make sure that we get this through. Yes, Mr. Bernie.
I'm gonna read this. So this is an email I got this morning. Good morning, Tom. This email is to inform the city of Newport that my proposal dated May 15, 2024 has expired. I will no longer be able to offer the level of service to the city as you know. I live and have my business located in Newport, so I will never be far away. I am always willing to help you and your staff as needed. Jason is doing a good job with the regulatory requirements and will continue to learn the quirks of the city systems. My services going forward are available on a time and materials basis, and I look forward to working with the city of Newport in the future. Sincerely, Philip Laramie. I'd like to add to that a little bit. Phil worked for the city of Newport for 8 years as a full-time employee. Went off on his own. Recently, in the last 7 years, has been working as a consultant and as our licensed operator. He was a local resident and business owner who has always had the city's best interests at heart. It's very unfortunate that we are where we are right now.
Thank you. Did you forward that to Jonathan, the city manager?
What's happening?
Did you forward that email to the city manager?
No, I did not.
Would you please do so?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is the city timeline on projects. An update from the city manager.
Okay. So most of the updates, I guess this is more kind of a question and answer with the council. A lot of the updates events have been in my city manager report to you, but wanted to just give some key kind of timelines on things that have happened. So you just approved the playground, Gardner Park remediation. The playground equipment has arrived on site much sooner than we've anticipated. As Tom can attest, it came in an 18-wheeler full of bits and pieces like a Lego puzzle. So it is going to take a long time to put together, but it is here. So that's kind of the Gardner Park project. The water tower project up on the east side is moving forward. Dina Gray has torn down the last building that we needed torn down, and we're working with them to schedule the closing of that parcel. The JPC card is up there working. I don't know if anyone in the public or council has driven by. It's quite the sight to see up there, and a lot of progress taking shape.
And on that note, I would like to tell the council that our city manager was extremely aggressive on that and made sure that that building came down so that we could get to a closing. Thank you.
I don't think it's a surprise that Dina Gray is a busy lady, so it's tough to track her down, but I think
You did well.
attending Rick's meetings on economic development have helped because Dina's always there. So, I mean, other than that, you know, we heard about the Bluff Road Pump Station project. That's another big one. You know, some of these tourism and marketing grants that, you know, we'll touch base later in this meeting have some pretty cool pieces that could really transform Newport. But I think these are really some of kind of the key projects that we're gonna see out and about. Another one that I know Tom's working on is Glen Road paving. We have a paving grant for class 2. It's roughly $200,000 that we have to do by the end of the summer. So that'll be another one that we're seeing is the Glen Road paving project. Well, I'll continue to update the council in my manager reports of events, kind of project timelines as things move forward. But those are kind of some key projects that I can think of.
Thank you. All good, council? Next item on the agenda is the PD vest payment from the reserve fund with an anticipated vote. And I know that the police chief is not here, so city manager, will you run with this? Thank you.
So Chief Bingham came to me and said that he needed to withdraw all of the money for the vest before half of it came back in as a grant reimbursement. Looking at the latest audit for the city, there was roughly $16,000 left in that fund. And so this would be basically taking, I think it was roughly $10,000 out and then putting $5,000 back in once we get the grant reimbursement. But because they are committed funds, we need the city council or the legislative body's approval to pull money out of there. So again, half of it will be reimbursed from the grant once it comes in, but that's the request that Travis had. I got a little bit of background. We have to replace these every 5 years per their guidelines, all the plates. But that's what I have.
Okay. So is there a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion in a couple of seconds. Any comments? Further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Next item on the agenda is the Newport Downtown Development Multiple Items Anticipated Vote. So on that note, I'm going to ask who is going to be bringing this to fill us in.
That would be me this time.
Okay. Councilmember Upper Chase.
So I've got 4 items, the first 2 of which I think might be worth acting upon, and the other 2 are for information. I love bringing this stuff. There's a lot of activity going on around trying to make new things happen on Main Street, and 2 these things are now pretty imminent. The first is we're talking about an idea that we've been calling Newport peddler carts. I alluded earlier to a proposal that we put in this morning for state transformational tourism money, and we are hoping to get a grant to support this from the state. The idea would be to build out a dozen or more push carts, peddler carts, that would be about 2 feet deep, 4 feet kind of long, and about 6 feet high, on wheels with push handles. And if all goes as we hope, we would build those, we'd paint them bright colors. They would open out so that they would extend to almost 8 feet each cart when you open the 2 doors to the sides. They'll have a small awning on them. And the reason I wanted to make sure that we talked about it as a council is that we're talking about, in general, having these things live at high traffic moments during the week along the fence on the empty block. That's a wide part of the sidewalk. So one reason we're talking about keeping them to 2 feet or less in depth is so that they can sit up against that fence and still have plenty of room to move up and down the sidewalk. And we would go looking for vendors, people with home-based businesses in the surrounding area, small entrepreneurs, businesses that would like a different kind of a venue, and we would rent the push carts to them at a modest amount of money, still to be determined, but the idea would be a monthly charge. People could rent the booze month by month, and there would be actually probably a little bit higher charge in the summer and lower charge in the winter. And these could actually be used in the winter. Our idea is that because they're on wheels, they would be wheeled inside, and we, Newport Downtown Development, would rent 1,000 square feet of the tasting center that's become available to both store them in a secure location at night and also to be available to be opened up as a small kind of walking market in the tasting center at bad weather moments. So they could be theoretically used in the wintertime as well as the summer or on rainy days in the summer. We would ask the vendors, again, none of this has been written down or totally sorted yet, it's just to kind of give you an idea, but our idea would be to ask the vendors, particularly in the summertime, to commit to open these at least 3 of 4 high-profile moments each week. And we would say that those moments are the Wednesdays on the waterfront evenings, and Friday late afternoon evenings, Saturday afternoons to early evenings, and Sunday afternoons to early evenings. So mostly I wanted to bring you all up to date. As of a day and a half ago, I have a drawing. Built by Newport has actually designed them for us. I should add, at no cost. And they're beautiful, and I can share that drawing if anybody else would like to see them. But they look pretty classy. And the board of Newport Downtown Development held a special meeting about 10 days ago and agreed that we're going to go after this state money. If we get the state money, what it really buys us is the ability to hire a professional marketing and promotion company in Quebec so that we could really build a campaign, an advertising campaign in Quebec to kind of sell this idea on the Quebec side of the border. And that's what will really make it attractive, I hope, to the state, because they're really interested in new markets outside of the state of Vermont. So if we don't get that grant, our intention is to, by hook or by crook, find the money to build these carts and go ahead no matter what. So I just wanted to let you all know, and I think it might be appropriate, Madam Mayor, but you can decide whether I'm right, to have a vote of support for that. And then we would obviously work with the treasurer, city clerk, about getting appropriate permits for anybody who would be a vendor.
Sure, yes, we can. I would also, when you're doing your research, whether it be rents, possibly this type of project might be good with licenses, right?
All right, we'll have more conversation.
Right, but that's just thrown out.
Okay.
So I am open to a motion for support if you make that.
I'll make it. I'll make the motion that we support the idea as presented to create a peddler cart program that would live on the 100 block of Main Street on the south side and in the tasting center, if the way be clear.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Before I come for comments, can Chris Roy have this?
Of course he can.
Thanks. Any comments? Further discussion?
Just a couple of questions. Are they going to be left out overnight?
No, our hope would be we'd move them inside for security every night, back out on the nights we want them.
And my other question was about permitting, but it seems like you're going to be looking into that. So.
Yeah, we did touch base with Frank and kind of figure out what we need.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Go get them.
Madam Mayor, is there going to be anything that prohibits people from bringing their own card? Or does it have to, if they're going to do it, do they have to rent it from NCDD? And my second question is, what is the name of the promotional company in Quebec?
Okay. So my understanding, and please jump in here, is that this project is not just, like a monopoly, that other people can come in and go through the normal process. So that would be number one. And we're not even really there yet. This is just a starting of looking into it. And then the number two, are you at liberty to identify the company in Quebec, or do you?
No, I don't know yet. It will depend a lot on whether, if we get the money from the state, we'll go looking and do a bid process.
Okay, but under this, I just want to make sure that's clear in my head. So if someone decides they want to build their own cart, buy their own cart, whatever, that they can open up shop with this up too, on, against the fence?
Well, they'd have to go through the city process.
Okay, so anybody who wants, but do they have to go through the city to rent from NCDD?
That's going to be the terms we haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is just an exploratory, we just gave authority to explore, including Chris Roy's questions to make sure that we have them answered.
It's a great question.
I
It
just
is
had
a good question, sure.
about, like, so it sounds like you're kind of envisioning a few different types of vendors. I'm just kind of wondering if you can speak a little more specifically about the vendors you want to see in those spaces and how you plan to outreach and find those kinds of people. I don't know.
If you are comfortable, go right ahead.
Yeah, I'd be happy to speak to it.
Yeah.
The board of Newport Downtown Development is absolutely interested in a variety of different things. And so we would imagine a small group of people from Newport Downtown Development who would act as kind of a committee to look at making sure that we end up with a variety of different things and not 3 jewelry makers competing with one another, for instance, right? So we picture jams and jellies and honey and jewelry and maybe books or magazines, or so a variety of things that would be lining the street.
Okay, awesome. That sounds great. Like the hop on 6.
Madam, is this going to run competition with the storefronts on Main Street now, particularly the empty storefronts, or, wow, is that not, what's the intent? Is that to run competition?
Well, I would hope that it would complement, and it's always good to make it healthy. The empty storefronts right now, I don't think have much competition, but I think we want to get them in there, right? So I'm thinking that it would be more complementary, healthy competition, not invasive competition.
I guess, Madam Mayor? Because you already voted, so I guess I can ask that. But what's to prevent somebody, instead of saying we're going to give NCDD X number to rent a cart, instead of Y to rent a storefront?
That we're going to go through the details, and all of those questions will come up at that point in time. We haven't voted for approval of the project unto itself. All we voted for was to please go explore this and come back to us and tell us how it would work.
Could I add one more thing?
You may.
I'll just add that the idea for this really came out of a workshop at the Main Street America Conference that was held in Birmingham, Alabama, that our board president, Sarah Chadburn, and I attended in May. And we went to a workshop in which that was a presentation by folks from the community of Batavia, Illinois, that created something called Shops on Boardwalk, I think they called it, where volunteers built a wooden boardwalk on an empty part of their downtown, and together built a bunch of booths, bigger than these actually.
Right.
And they have a very similar idea. They've been doing it, I think, for 3 years now. And one of the things they discovered is that about 50%, I may have that number off a little bit, of the folks who have rented from them for a season have ended up converting to brick and mortar locations on the street. What it's really been is an entrance into small businesses that would like to explore the possibility, using what's called in business terms a minimum viable product that's low risk first.
Thank you.
Okay, that's the first item.
Okay, second item. This one I really do want to vote on before we would make a move on it. Some folks in the community have noted that the park benches on Main Street are mounted about 1.5 or 2 feet off of the street and facing the street, so that when one sits on a park bench, their knees are all but touching a parked car, or they're looking directly at the passing traffic. And that was brought to our attention in Newport Downtown Development, and so we would like the city's permission to work with the Building and Grounds or Public Works Department. I've spoken with Tom about this, to spin 6 of those, I think 8 benches, 180 degrees. It's a matter of taking a couple of bolts up, spinning it around, and putting the bolts back in the ground again, so that they face in toward the shops and create more of a kind of a welcome for folks to sit in. And if anybody wants to see it, I've taken some pictures of what that looks like. in our packet for the council. The two exceptions that we would name here on Main Street are one that's right outside this building that's sitting back against the building and therefore not right against the traffic. And the other one is in front of the county courthouse. And the reason I would recommend we not spin that one is because there is a resident of Newport who likes to sit there every morning when the weather is nice and watch the traffic go by. And so we are not interested in disrupting current community patterns, but we'd like to take the other 6 on the street and spin them. And we may even look into a way that we could add a movable chair with a kind of a security feature built into it that we would create. That's kind of the third idea here, but create a little bit of a seating area there to just make it feel more welcoming on Main.
So if we approve this, are we going to get somebody saying you forgot to?
Maybe.
Okay. Any discussion before, or just ask for, when we throw your motion out there, and we can take it from there?
Yeah, I'll move that Newport Downtown Development and the Public Works Department be given permission to spin 6 of those benches 180 degrees to face in instead of out to traffic.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments? Ms. Hopkins, please.
Jennifer Hopkins, resident of Newport and former merchant on Main Street. If anybody has long enough memory, and I go back a few years, they once were faced into the storefronts. And I can tell you, being a store clerk and having somebody sit there and stare at you for umpteen hours a day is rather unnerving. And I think you should reconsider, or at least personally ask the merchants who would have these people not watching the traffic. You aren't going to spin because he's watching the traffic, but suddenly he's going to be watching you selling your merchandise. So I just think it's worth consideration, because last time there was one hell of a lot of flack and they were spun. I think Tom would remember.
Thank you for that comment.
I understand why you would want to spin them around, because that would be really the lowest cost and it would use the current seat. But in some other communities, the benches are probably smaller and they face each other. 2 benches would face each other at a distance apart. So maybe 4 people could sit and have a conversation, and they would be 90 degrees, not 180. I'm just suggesting that that maybe this thought, which is very low cost, it seemed to me, is an interim measure to spending the other amount of money, which would require you buying smaller benches that would face each other and be situated so people would enjoy the street, enjoy each other, not offend in any way the merchants, and not sort of sit facing a vehicle. Just a thought for the future, not immediate.
Council, further discussion?
Yeah, Ms. Hopkins' point was interesting. Have you had conversations with storefront owners?
Not all of them. Not at every location. With some of them.
Okay. And they're okay with it?
The couple of folks I've spoken with are fine with it.
The people that you've spoken with, were those like the bigger stores, or were those the ones that really had their windows to the ground? Like not like, say, like the Market, or was it the smaller storefronts?
I think the best way to answer this would be to say I'm happy to go back and have a conversation before we spin any benches about any stores that might be directly in front of them, so that it's not a theoretical conversation, it's an actual
Sure.
conversation.
I just wanted to get as much discussion going here, so we have the information, so.
No, I kind of said what I wanted to hear, so I appreciate that.
Yeah. Councilmember Charbonneau, do you have anything you'd like to say?
No, I think they've covered it, and Councilman Upford Patience recommendation to check is correct.
Councilmember. So do you want to withdraw your motion?
No, I
or
want to
it?
keep the motion and add the words "if the way be
So
clear."
amend, do you want to do a friendly
A
amendment?
friendly amendment to say, we'll check with the merchants who are directly in front of the benches. And if there's a concern, we'll take a pause on that one.
Okay. You good with that amendment? I'm actually asking you.
Yes, I mean, one suggestion years ago was to get tractor seats and face one way and one the other, or half stands so people could talk to each other. Something that wouldn't be as wide as a bench. You know, a bench for one is sort of bigger. But I think it's a great idea to have it, and we can have a conversation.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I have an amended motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
An amended motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, and the motion is amended is carried. Okay.
And I'll just cover the last two points because I don't think we need action on them. I just wanted to let everyone know what we're thinking. I kind of referred to this obliquely with the park bench conversation. We are exploring the possibility of developing an outdoor chair that would be kind of a Newport branded chair, something relatively small, certainly not as big as an Adirondack chair, but something more compact that we might work with local artists to paint, to go in different locations, probably paired up with park benches up and down the street each season, with the hope that we could then turn it into a fundraiser by auctioning those chairs at the end of the season. And the money could support the development of the Canusa 360 Arts Collaborative, which is the new arts collaborative trying to create a micro arts region on the southern end of Lake Memphremagog on both sides of the border. The idea comes from some of what we've seen in towns like Barrie, where they do pig and race car statues that people paint and then auction them off at the end of the year. This may not actually get any traction this year. We've got so many other things on our agenda, but we're actively exploring it. I just thought I should mention it.
Okay.
All right. And the last item is that Newport Downtown Development has been, for several months now, meeting with the officials for Customs and Border Protection to try and fully understand exactly what's required of boaters coming in from Canada before they can get off their boats and explore our downtown area. And I won't rehearse all of the various things that we're doing to try and make that as understandable and as easy as possible for Canadian visitors. But one piece of what we're exploring is what we're calling an ambassador program. And we are actively trying to recruit 15 to 20 adults who would take a 2-hour shift on a weekend as a volunteer and greet people down at the city docks and provide just a little bit of orientation, both to the requirements around the border entry and also what's here in Newport to explore. So I mentioned that just because I think it's it's a step in the right direction to try and recover some of the lost energy coming down the lake in the past, and also to let folks know that we are this week trying to look for volunteers. So if you know of anyone who would like to help, I'd love to have their names.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I ask a question? I know you work closely with the North Country Career Center already. Have you thought about having their metal department or woodworking department making chairs as well?
So I haven't been to them. It's an interesting idea, Chris. I've gone to Built by Newport to ask if they could design something for us and whether they could turn it out. Whatever we do certainly ought to be produced here locally, I would think, if we want to brand it as a Newport chair. And I hadn't thought about it. It'd be interesting to explore with the Career Center.
Yeah, some of the stuff they make is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great idea. Stay tuned.
We're going to the next item, which is personnel matters with a potential executive session under 1 VSA section 313A1B. May I please have a motion to enter executive session which is for a personnel matter, and invite the city manager in and the employee into the executive session.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, and the motion is carried. We are in executive.
I got my water right here.
We're out of executive session. No action was taken. The next item on the agenda is the fire department personnel matters, potential executive session, 1 VSA section 313A1B. May I please have a motion to enter executive session to discuss fire department personnel matters and to invite the interim fire chief and the captain into the session?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, the motion is carried, and we are in executive session. We are out of executive session, no action was taken. Okay, let's bring this meeting home. Okay. Comments by members of the public. Please remember our comments by members of the public. Everyone is to speak through the mayor. Before anyone speaks, you must be recognized. Do not have personal conversations. You speak through me. Okay, in order to move this forward, we're going to have specific time limits. Members of the audience are reminded that members of the press are present and that these proceedings are being recorded for current and future broadcast over the city's cable television channel. Members of the audience are further reminded that Newport City Council meetings are for the purpose of allowing council members to conduct city business. City council meetings are the only time the city council discusses, deliberates, and decides upon city matters. City council meetings are held in public to promote transparency and accountability in government, but are distinct from public hearings or town meetings in that they are not meetings of the public. Members of the public shall be afforded a reasonable opportunity to express opinions about matters considered by the city council. To conduct orderly and efficient meetings, I kindly request the public's cooperation and compliance with the published guidelines when participating in the meeting. When your name is called, please speak into the microphone, state your name, your residence and/or affiliation. Again, please speak when you're recognized. If you are not recognized, please do not speak or engage in conversations. Please speak through the mayor. Okay? Everyone, we will start. Can I have, I always feel like a game show. Can I have 2 minutes on the clock? Ms. Watkins.
I'm trying to set it so I can. Hello, City of Newport. I wanted to address what happened at the end of last meeting. I'm glad you put it on the agenda, but we certainly got no clarification about what happened when Kevin Charbonneau decided that something that had been an action by the council, which was appointing clerk as the constable, suddenly became a criminal offence. And yet only one person got named, but all of you were involved in that because you all voted and clerk was appointed as constable. What has happened since seems to be a great big nothing, which is even more disturbing. So you have a council member who's been totally isolated because of that. And I understand from what you said and from when I asked the clerk, none of you have contacted him. None of you have asked what's going on.
And apparently none of you have contacted Kevin Sharpen either. I'm really sorry he's not physically here tonight because I'd like to look him in the face and say, this is totally unacceptable. I really hope that the council censure him. And frankly, it's probably something that he should resign because of what it has done to all of you on the council is really disturbing. How can you ever trust each other again? How are you going to know what somebody is going to get concerned about and then go running off? Using city email, which tells me that it was done as a council member, not as a private individual. And yet, we're now being told that, oh, come and talk to me privately. I'm sorry, that just doesn't make sense. I really hope that something is going to be done and that it's going to be done by the group. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Grimm.
I have so many thoughts in my head. Laurie Grimm, City of Newport. Thank you, Rick, for putting that on the agenda. But I was really taken back and appalled last week to find out that Councilmember Charbonneau had filed a criminal complaint on Mr. Curtis for supposedly impersonating a law enforcement officer in his position of the constable having been appointed to that position in the city. And it really surprises me because I've known Kevin to be an upstanding member of the Vermont State Police, a school resource officer at the high school, and it surprises me, like I think what Councilmember Alfred Chase said, it surprises me that other steps were not taken prior to going that ultimate step. And then in the meeting 2 weeks ago, Councilmember Charbonneau said that basically that if nothing comes out of it, it's all going to be okay anyway. But just filing the complaint puts Councilmember Curtis in a bad light because people don't know what's going on. And I'm just finding that there's so many things that are happening here. I just don't believe that Councilmember Charbonneau is paying attention. I don't know whether he's working on his own, whether he's gone rogue, whether he is listening to other people, but I don't know that he's paying attention. When I've interviewed for a position on the Development Review Board, Melissa Pedersen, a member, asked the question, what would I do if the vote did not go in my favor? And I said, we had a vote on something and it got voted in, but I didn't agree with it. And I said, well, for a moment I might react, but it would take the time, understand, and get past it. And I don't think that's what's happening here. There's a lot of stuff going on, and city employees who are voicing their opinion is fine, but to withhold an email on an item that came before the council tonight, I think was wrong. And I think that Mr. Charbonneau is going to have to, defend himself in some way, be censured or resign.
Thank you for your comment. Ms. Shirley?
It's funny that Rick used the word shock, because what I said I wanted to talk about tonight was supporting Clark Curtis and how shocked I was at what Kevin had done. Many years ago, 2 councilmen had put an editorial in the paper about John, who isn't with us anymore as council member, and it was a nasty, ugly editorial. And even though I didn't agree with John all the time, I had to get up and say that what was in there was totally untrue. And this is another level up by far. And first of all, I want to say, with regard to Clark, he's only been here for a year and a half. I've been amazed at how thoughtful I've seen him be. He thinks about the issues. He's not afraid, as many of the council people were before, to say that he doesn't agree. He came with the intent, it's clear to me, to make sure that the budget was well thought out. People seemed in the previous times to just knee-jerk yes it, and he did not do that. I have deeply respected what Curtis Clark has been Clark Curtis, I got it backwards, has been doing. And I just had to say that I'm amazed that he's with us and he's still here and he's still fighting. I love it. And with respect to what Kevin did, he should have known better in my mind, because if you deal with people as a policeman at that level, then you know how stressful it is to bring anything like a criminal complaint against a citizen. It's so destructive of how they feel about themselves. It can be destructive of how their families feel about them. It can be destructive about how the community feels about them. You shouldn't be doing that. You should know better. And that's what's so shocking. And when Kevin says, if you want to know more details, you come to me and speak to me personally, why didn't he go personally and speak to Clark? Why didn't he go personally and speak to anybody else? That's how you handle something, not the way he did it. I am appalled by it. I am shocked by it. And I don't think he should be councilman. And when I think back about what he did as councilman, for the most part, Kevin didn't do very much. He did not disagree with who was the power then, who was the city manager then, at all. He just lined up, other than for, I think, one issue, with whatever she said. And he shocked me one day by saying, you know, there are two people that know more about water and sewage than almost anybody, two people, citizens, that know more about it. And I thought, no, you should know more about it. You should be studying it. You should be able to tell me about it, not vice versa. So I am truly appalled at what he did. And I want to say I am amazed at what Clark Curtis has managed to do as city councilman. I am proud of him.
Thank you for your comment. Ms. Gerlin?
Jennifer Bierling, is this on? Is it on? No, it's not on. Okay. So Jennifer Bierling, resident of Newport, Vermont. I'm really struggling with the way the council is handling the personnel policy. There is a mantra that you are only as good as your employees. And I am not seeing the city treat our non-union employees with any level of respect. And I find it quite deplorable. In the previous meeting, the mayor committed to having Attorney Mahusky here and dealing with it on the agenda. This has been going on since very soon after February 20th when it was passed. It was passed by Mr. Curtis, Mr. Wilson, so only half the aldermen voted in favor, and the mayor broke the tie. And ever since, it's come up on the, by request, it's come up on the agenda several times, and the can just keeps getting kicked down the road. Today, the mayor said that the attorney needs to do additional research. I would argue that that research should have been done back in February 20th, before you guys even voted on it. I don't know what there is now to research that, it should have been done back then to justify the changes that were put into place. I find it alarming that the mayor has refused to answer the question as to who actually removed the grievance policy from the personnel policy. And the mayor has said on the record that the city would never improperly terminate an employee, so I don't see where the harm is. Why wouldn't you put the grievance policy back in? If you're not going to inappropriately fire somebody, where's the harm? So that's that issue. I also wanted to address Councilman Ufford Chase in reference to the downtown development stuff. I'm sorry, trees. we need trees. So whenever you've been out on Main Street that has a lot of trees, you always feel very cozy and comfortable, and I would recommend trees. And then in closing, this past week, I got an answer back on a public documents request, and my request was for the script that Clark Curtis read into the record at the June 3rd council meeting. And the response I got was that the record does not exist. So clearly it was a public document. It was read into the record at a council meeting. And if it no longer exists, then it would indicate that it was destroyed. Everyone sees him on camera reading from this prepared script. I find it rather curious that when 2 previous city officials were accused of destroying public documents, that it was on the desk from the mayor, and the supporters stood with public comment and made a big deal of it, and there was no evidence to indicate what type of records were destroyed, whether or not they were obsolete records like meeting agendas and things like that, and yet it was broadcast as though they were guilty of breaking the law and subject to fines. And now there's just complete silence. This clearly is a public record. It was read into the council meeting, and it seems to be destroyed. I don't know, but the claim is it no longer exists. So why aren't you on the desk from the mayor talking about it? Why aren't the supporters talking about it? It's, clearly an offense. Thanks.
Thank you for your comment. Commissioner Walsh?
Jay Walsh, resident Newport, Vermont. Excuse me. By the way, the destruction of emails is a violation of the law, so whatever came up about that is that. In the words of Winston Churchill, those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. This is the 3rd time I've addressed this council regarding Alderman Charbonneau's conduct, as he continues to step outside of his official capacity. The Vermont legislature recently passed the Municipal Ethics Bill, House Bill 875, to which Senator Ruth Hardy emphasized members of the public were very adamant and concerned to ensure a strong ethics code at the municipal level. In light of Alderman Charbonneau's repeated actions stepping outside of his authority which cast a negative light on the city of Newport, I urge the council to propose an ethics resolution that goes beyond the legislature's provisions. This resolution should appear on the ballot at the next annual meeting, allowing voters to amend the city charter to include ethics rules. We need clear guidelines to ensure our elected officials act within their authority and that they are held accountable when they do not. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. So I just want to say that it's important to understand that all of these comments are people's opinions. Law is not, we don't follow the law that other people make, couch as law. We really research things and look at the law and discuss it with our attorneys. There have been quite a few public records requests that have come into the city continually over the past several days. Some of these, and I think it's important that the people know at this point in time, okay, have been taking up an exorbitant amount of time, which means that there's going to be more costs to the taxpayers. There have been continued requests for invoices from both our law firms. Of course, attorney-client privilege, you will get redacted invoices back if there is attorney-client privilege on those invoices. So I ask our council members to please not ask for those invoices unredacted, and my hopes is that everybody understands that if you do see them, council members, that it's still, you need to protect the attorney-client privilege and not share any of that. I also want you to know that there has been an extensive amount of a public records request for communications and documentation pertaining to the malfunctioning water meter at the Northern State Correctional Facility, including all emails or other written communications between Newport City staff members, emails between NSCF and the City of Newport, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, going back to July 1, 2021, okay? And other requests as well. There has also been an email that went out to press and third parties in a reaction to this alleged script, okay? Just because somebody is holding up papers and you don't know what's on them, okay? It could be notes, it could be buzzwords, who knows what it is. However, the email that went out said that, which was in response to the public request response, clearly went out of the process. I want everybody to understand the process. If you ask for a public records request, and it is your right to do this, okay, please understand that. If you ask for a document request, you get a response. If you are unhappy or dispute that response, you appeal it to the mayor, and then you will get a response from the mayor. If you are unhappy or disagree with that response, you have the right to go to court, okay? Not, I mean, you can put anything you want in your email, or melodramatically or whatever, but to turn around and say, I'm going to the Attorney General is a bit out of the process. So there's a time and place for when enforcement would happen if it rises to that level. So I ask that everybody please, okay, breathe. You're entitled to public records requests, but let's follow the process and let's not get over dramatic. The next item on the agenda is new business. President Fashawn?
Yes. Excuse me. Carnival was last weekend. Despite the weather, it seemed like you had a pretty good turnout. So kudos to all involved with that. On Saturday, I was able to attend a really beautiful flag retirement ceremony up at St. Mary's. Jim was actually able to speak at that one, so it was really good. And I guess the next one, kind of a question. When it was brought to us, the liaisons were going to be rotated once in a while. Hoping, I absolutely love to work in the fire department, and you guys have the best food. But I want to kind of get involved with the other departments as well, so considering rotating that.
Yes, and to that note, I have that actually on my list as well, and I want to address that. And so I will shoot my suggestions out to the city manager, who will then share those as appropriate, and then I'll look forward to your input, and we should do new appointments. Okay? Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Councilmember Charbonneau?
No, thank you.
Councilmember Curtis?
Speaking of Miss Buerling, what I read were my notes, not a script. The minutes were approved tonight and are of record for that meeting. And lastly, the video itself is a record, and everything can be seen and heard of what was said.
Thank you. Councilmember Upper Chase?
No, thank you.
Treasurer Johnson? City Manager? A reminder, June 23rd is the parade, and the council members were invited to march behind the Grand Marshal. And we will get you around so that you don't have to hurt your knees. Okay. Next item on the agenda is old business. President Fashawn?
No, thank you.
Councilmember Charbonneau?
No, thank you.
Councilmember Curtis?
It's been a month I spoke about the minutes being in draft form since last September. And
I gotta work with Jim and Becky. Yeah.
being worked on.
Yeah,
best you can.
it is.
All right, that's it. Thank you.
Councilmember Alfred Chase,
No, ma'am.
Treasurer Johnson,
No.
City Manager. Oh, look, I'm gonna get this one right this time. Next item on the agenda is to set the next meeting, regularly scheduled council meeting for July 1, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Do I hear a motion to adjourn the regular meeting at 8:45?